Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Classroom, where my students and quite a few of our friends from Singapore, from HHHolistic, we have joined forces to present a global classroom to you. I'm really excited because normally I'm the only host, but today we have 7 people join me live, and I feel really excited. And so many of you know that I'm trying to build a global classroom and a classroom without walls. And we don't just talk about things, but we actually do things. And so right now we are working on the life skill component of my program. And I partnered with my dear friend in Singapore, and they run a top leading soft skill agency. And so we are our students and their students, and they have paired up and to present, and they worked really hard, and we have quite a few exciting topics and presentations to share with you in a few minutes. And I would love to have my friend Ryan to do a quick introduction. And by the way, we're live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And we have quite a few people joining us live already. And let me know in the comment section where you guys are joining us live from, social media wise and geographically speaking. Amazing collaboration. Yes, I agree. Totally. Yeah. So Ryan, do you want to say a few words about who are you, what are we doing here, and then we are going to dive into our presentations.
Great. Thanks so much, I. The first thing I'd like to say is this. Thank you for having us on the show. It's been an amazing time working with you, and we're really excited to be able to put this together at last. We've been planning this for a year, right? So for us to actually put it together, it's amazing. So really quickly, I'd like to just welcome everybody and just take you through the journey of our global classroom a little bit. So let's see, can we actually get this quick slide up for me, I, if you don't mind? We've got so much work for I to do as well on the back end of things, so please bear with us as we go through some tech issues, yeah? All right, so this is what we put up about a month ago, right? We told people around our region in Southeast Asia going, hey, if you are interested and you want to join an immersive program, come along and see what we have to say and just have this chance to work with someone from literally around the globe. We had so many people interested, and that's why today we get to be here. We're really, really excited that the topics that they'll be presenting are both culturally diverse and yet at the same time a little bit challenging because it's going to push them to their limits. So we hope you enjoy it all, okay? So what we actually did was we planned a 2-week program, only 2 weeks, right? And the very first thing we told them on the first day was that we have 4 sessions in 2 weeks with 1 presentation. Okay, and that's all we told them. So just imagine that. Come along with us for this journey, okay? And then next hour after that, I told them this. We said we have 7 days left with 2 sessions left and 1 final presentation. We're thinking about this, and that's when they started going, in 3 hours, you want us to prepare something to present to live to the world? Then this Monday or Tuesday our time, I went 4 days, 1 final presentation. Are you ready? The context is this. In 3 hours, these people here have learned to collaborate and communicate together to be able to bring you our global classroom. Okay, so I'm not going to waffle on too long. I'm really excited to be able to introduce our pairings of collaborators. So very first, straight after me, we're going to get to hear Dennis and Joey, and they're going to tackle. Woohoo! Let's see some hands and likes and stuff for them. Okay, so they're gonna see Dennis and Joey, and they're gonna tackle globalization versus glocalization. They're gonna tell you all about it, and they're gonna tell you what they think is the most important parts of it. After they're finished, we have a bit of time for Q&A. So really quickly, here's my time to tell you all this. Take some time to ask questions along the way during the Q&As. I we'll pick up a few of them and we'll throw it to them. Okay, so we'll help you ask your questions if we didn't get the chance to pick it up as well. So Dennis and Joey will go first talking about globalization and glocalization. Following that, we're going to get June and Melody talking about trust. Start thinking about it as trust a value over a principle, because they, I hope, are going to change your mind. After they're done with that, same thing, ask questions. I will pick up a few and we'll ask it to them later. Last and definitely not least, we're going to tackle the topic of creativity versus innovation versus invention. And Rachel and Payan will really bring us home with that. So, the last question I have is, are you ready? If you're ready,
Yeah,
again, throw us a like, throw us whatever we have, and everyone else will pop off the screen, and Dennis and Joey will take it away.
totally. Yeah, we have almost 30 people joining us live right now. I'm really excited. Hello, my dear friends, literally from all over the globe. So I'm going to only have Dennis and Joey on the screen right now. I'm going to bring everyone to the backstage. Don't leave. Stay on the backstage, okay? So let me do this. Bye, Roy. And hold on. I'm trying to. Yeah. So, Joey, do you want to share your screen or you want me to share the screen?
I've shared it already. Can you see it?
Yes, I can share your screen for you. Yes. Unfortunately, one of your partner, which is Dennis. By the way, it is 3 a.m. for Dennis. Dennis, his camera is broken, so we couldn't really see him. But it is 3 a.m. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay.
Wait, so am I clicking it through or is it you?
Yeah, I can do it for you.
Oh no, it's okay because I'm the one I wanted to do it.
She created a script for the so all credits to her on the script. So we need to, yeah.
Wait, sorry, can I ask if you can see my screen because I shared it already?
Okay, hold on. Let me remove my screen so you can share yours. You want to share yours, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can share now.
Do you see it? Because I shared it already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all our esteemed shareholders at Primark and directors from all around the world. I'm Joey, and today with me I have my fellow sales associate at Primark, Dennis. Before we begin our presentation today, we would like to thank everyone for attending and taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to our pitch. We all know how life as businessmen can be extremely hectic, and it can be so hard to find random pockets of time for miscellaneous tasks. So we really appreciate all of you being here with us today to listen to our presentation and our pitch, because it's very important and it will be dictating the direction that we'll be taking from here on, as well as Primark's position, not only in the fashion market, but also in the global community, as well as the many local communities within it. So today, we'll be presenting to you our pitch.
Primark
Global to global. So yes, our pitch is titled Primark Global to GLOCAL, and this shift in our business approach from a global to a local one is one that is paradigm, but also one that both of us are confident will pay off for Primark in the long run. So without further ado, let us dive in and analyze the reasons for why this paradigm shift is so important and so necessary.
Firstly, let us take a look at our current business approach. We have been engaging in economic globalization and taking an inherently global approach as characterized by our expansion to many other regions in the world. The replication of Primark's products and services across our stores, and our engagement in location optimization. These three characteristics have all given rise to an increased, more sufficient flow of our products, services, capital, and even investment, which is literally the essence of economic globalization. Furthermore, practicing location optimization and moving our manufacturing to areas with lower manufacturing costs have helped in reducing our overall costs, thus passing these cost benefits onto our consumers, who can enjoy the low prices that our brand has consistently been associated with.
Thank you, Dennis. So before we further evaluate our current global approach, let us take a walk down memory lane. and we look at the history of Primark. So I believe that many of you directors here at Primark will know that Primark had humble beginnings, and it first started out as a small store in Dublin, Ireland on Mary Street in 1969. And in fact, this store is still standing there today. But 51 years and more than 200 stores on, we have entered the shores of the European regions as well as the USA, which we are quite proud of because the USA is just such a large market. And actually, until now, we have not entered the Asian market yet, but fret not because we will be touching on that later. And regardless of that, it shows that our global approach has been paying off for us because it's allowed us to enter different markets and also provided us with many business opportunities. And this shows that globalization has been serving us well. However, we have to recognize that this global approach may not pay off for us in the long run, and it might not be entirely sustainable. So we have to go an extra mile for our consumers and their communities. If you are wondering how this global approach could fall apart in the long run, let Dennis explain in the next slide.
As a global business, we have opened many stores in many other locations beyond Ireland and brought our products to these locations and these stores as well. So far, we have observed a high level of customer satisfaction and success in these areas. For example, according to a 2020 survey by YouGov, which is a UK company, Primark has been ranked as sixth most popular fashion and clothing brand, with many customers praising our products as affordable and value for money. However, it can be seen that we can definitely do better in terms of creativity and quality of our products. To begin, let us look at a female apparel in the UK. So, as you can see, there are female products. The next online website is coming from France. So they are quite similar and not differentiated, as we are sort of replicating products and we are not putting a local twist on them.
So the final tenet of our global approach that I'll be talking about is location optimization, and we have been practicing that at Primark through locating our factories in areas which are lower in rental costs, to producing our wares and apparel in these areas with lower rental costs and manufacturing costs. We can pass this cost savings on to our Primark consumers who stand to benefit from the lower prices of the apparels that our brand has consistently been associated with. But now let's take a look at the following diagram. We can see that for now, we have 1,033 factories in 30 countries. But what we find alarming is that we have 953 factories in Asia itself, and that is more than 90% of the total number of factories that we engage with around the world. And the most direct reason for that is that Asian locations tend to have lower labor costs and rental costs as well. And while there's nothing wrong with enlisting the help of these factories, we need to take a look at how the workers in these factories have been treated and how the local communities have been impacted. And Dennis will be elaborating on that in the next slide.
With that being said, we've been trying to circumvent these concerns, constantly conducting audits with a specialized team and reviewing the Code of Conduct by Ethical Trading Initiative, also known as ETI. Through doing so, we are being more transparent in monitoring the working standards, and we are actively taking steps to take care of our workers' welfare.
Thank you, Dennis. So, as Dennis has mentioned, we are glad that Primark has been putting the effort to take care of local communities and local workers. And we are happy that our global approach has been paying off quite well for us so far, as we have been having a rather good reputation amongst the European and American communities. But moving forward, we do need a change in direction because going global does not guarantee us continued success and customer loyalty. So while we are doing well, we can definitely do better, not only for ourselves, but also for our host economies that we are located in. So now Dennis will be elaborating more on what it means to go global and the elements of going global.
So let me explain a bit more about being global means and what we have to actively consider in the process of going global. Basically, global is reflecting or characterized by both local and global considerations. It is an interrogation of global and local dialectics, and some experts have hailed going global means to think globally, but act locally. This means to actively And 1 second. This means to have. This means to actively consider local preferences, styles, and even needs. Now, Joey will be explaining more about why we decided to go global and why it is important that globalization alone and sticking to our global approach.
So the main reason why we wish to go global, as mentioned, is that it is a more sustainable business model, not only in terms of economic sustainability, but also in terms of social sustainability, when we think of the local communities and the consumers in the host economies. And ensuring sustainability is quite important for us in these uncertain and polarizing times, so that no one will be left behind and we can all forge ahead as one. After all, inclusivity is a very big word nowadays, and we need to ensure that as a global community, we are inclusive. And a second reason we have for going global is that when we go global, we actively consider the preferences and tastes of local consumers. And when we actually pander to their preferences, these consumers will feel that their needs have been met. And this can allow for a higher level of customer satisfaction, which is what allows us to build our customer base and establish a reputation.
As Joey has mentioned, high levels of customer satisfaction can allow us to build our popularity, but also a higher success rate for Primark in the long run.
So, in case some of you are wondering what a global business looks like and how exactly we can model after a global business, I have one very familiar example today, which is McDonald's. As you can tell by the very familiar M symbol and the slogan, I'm loving it. So, over the years, McDonald's has localized so well that it has been introducing a myriad of different menu items for different stores across the different locations. And now I'll be pulling two of them out for all of you to guess where exactly the menu items come from. So I hope for your active participation in this. And if any of you have any guesses, just feel free to shout it out. And yeah. So I'll show you my first menu item, and that is the Bandung McFlurry, which is a rose flavored ice cream. So does anyone want to guess where this Bandung McFlurry comes from? It's a country that's very near to. It's a country that's in Asia. That's the hint that I will give. So does anyone want to guess now?
Vietnam?
Unfortunately, it's not Vietnam. Does anyone have other guesses?
I have people say Singapore, Malaysia.
Yes, that is very on point. Yes, it's Singapore and Malaysia. It's from Singapore, and in fact, it was introduced to the market last June, and I tried it, and it was actually very nice. It was very sweet and milky, and as you can see, McDonald's chose to put bandung in their menu because they recognized that bandung was a very loved drink in the region of Singapore, and that's why they chose to consider the consumer's preferences and put it in the menu. And so now I have the second menu item, which is the Tamago Double Mac, and this one is a bit more obvious if you can read the language that's on it. So does anyone want to give any guesses?
I know this one, Korea.
No, sorry, it's not from Korea, but it's very close. Like the country is very close. Yes, it's from Japan. Yeah, because tamago is like a steamed egg kind of product, and it is quite popular in Japan. So as you can see, the McDonald's in Japan also tried to actively integrate that item into the burger, which is very commendable because that is the epitome of localization. And so now, for something that's more familiar for us in the fashion market, we'll be talking about another global business. So yes, Dennis, please take over.
So we'll be looking at a popular shoe brand called Bata. While many of us have bought their shoes before, or come across their stores, we might be less familiar on where exactly Bata comes from, because it is globalized so well to the point that it appears to be nationally less and can seamlessly interrogate into every country. So right now, let us feel free to guess where Bata comes from.
No idea.
Any
more guesses?
We have actually quite a few questions coming up related to other parts. So if you guys don't mind hurrying up a little bit, so we'll actually have some time for Q&A.
Czech Republic.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you have seen, we have already raised two examples of local businesses, and we wish to follow the footsteps of these two businesses because they have been really doing well when they go global, and we hope to be that company as well. We hope to be a company that everyone around the world can relate to. And our first step to this paradigm shift from global to local is to expand into the South and East Asian markets, as you can see in this picture, such as China, India, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. And the reason for doing so is because these markets have a larger consumer base because they are populated countries to begin with. So by entering these markets, we can enter very large consumer bases and we can build our stores from there. And the second step for our local approach is to integrate locals' preferences into our products, as we have seen in the previous few slides. And that is because when we want to do that because we want to ensure that our products will be more relatable for the consumers and more to their taste. And by being aware of the local tastes and context, it shows that we as a business, Primark, are being sensitive to our customers' needs. And as I said, this will pay off in the long run because customers will be more satisfied. And as mentioned, Primark is a consumer-driven business. So having a very loyal consumer base is very important for us to ensure continued success. And now Dennis will be touching briefly on the next step of our paradigm shift, which is with regards to how we wish to reach out to the community more.
So when we view glocalization from the community scale, this means taking care of needs of the community and in hinterlands. We can do that through building on our current Primark Cares campaign. Well, we have been rather accountable and transparent with regard to the steps we take in ensuring workers' welfare is being taken care of and that there are minimum wage policies in place. There is so much more. Oh my God. Sorry about this. Okay. There is so much more we can do on the ground, such as doing community involvement programs, and we will be elaborating on that later. In short, we will be accounting for the community's needs actively, for example, by noting what facilities they lack and what basic services they desperately need, such as water, which many less developed economies still have restricted access to. Let us pass the time back to Joey, who will be speaking more about the plans we have for our stores in Asia.
Yes, so with regard to entering Asia, the first step that you want to take is to change the store layout slightly. So as all of you know, we are currently like a brand that is for fashion and we are not associated with food, but we plan to dress up our current store layout and implement a different one for our stores in the new Asia market. And we are going to do so by integrating food in it. Before you go, why food? Actually, I want to mention that we can see that certain stores such as Isetan in Asia have been gaining traction because they offer a myriad of products, from fashion apparel to even food samples that customers can munch on should they feel hungry when they are shopping. And that is exactly what we plan to do with Primark stores in Asia, because we recognize that food is something that Asians hold very close to their hearts and love wholeheartedly. So on top of displaying our usual fashion apparel, we will be also setting up a few food booths where snacks will be sold in little boxes that consumers can hold even when they're holding clothes, because these boxes are small and easy to hold. And these food booths will be set up to seem like a night market, such as those in Taiwan and Hong Kong. And this is something that we feel will pay off for us because in these localities such as Taiwan and Hong Kong, night markets are a very familiar scene and they are integral to nightlife and actually the whole culture itself. So we wish to replicate that exact atmosphere in our stores and set our food booths up to imitate a night markets so that it recreates the familiar atmosphere that locals have grown up with and love a lot. So I believe that when we set up these food booths to appear like a night market, this will win the hearts and stomachs of our consumers.
Now let us take a look at what we will be doing on a consumer level when we enter the Asian markets. As Joey has mentioned, we will be setting up food booths, and at these food booths, we will be selling fusion-style snacks and confectionery, such as Ozymandias cakes for the Hong Kong market, which are a perfect marriage of a nostalgic Ozymandias jelly dessert and the classic Western angel food cake by interrogating local favorites into our food. We believe that our Asian customers will be won over and truly feel that we are making an effort to pander to their preferences. The secondary strategy we want to implement is to interrogate local styles into our fashion apparel. For more conservative Asian markets where it is considered impolite to wear more revealing clothing, selling sleeveless clothes or that show more skin might not be well received by consumers. In that vein, we can adopt local styles such as kafta in this photo. That is another fashion brand, H&M, used as a form of inspiration for their inclusive line. By adopting these local styles, we are showing respect to these locals as well, through showing that we acknowledge and accept their cultures.
Thank you, Dennis. So now let's talk about entering Asia on the community level. So the first step that we plan to take is to hire local celebrities to be Primark ambassadors. And this example, the photo that you see on the screen is a Western brand that hired a celebrity called Lei Zhang from the Korean band EXO to be their ambassador. So we hope that through hiring local celebrities to be Primark ambassadors, this allows for a higher level of relatability for our consumers, and they can literally buy into our marketing campaigns. So when you use these celebrities whom people are more familiar with and deem as a familiar face, they'll feel more convinced they'll feel more convinced that our products are good and they want to buy from us. And the second step that Dennis has mentioned is that we want to be more proactive and go on the ground when it comes to community engagement. So while we are still going to do our regular audits and reviews of the code of conduct by the ETI, these are actually more top-down approaches, and the impacts might not be directly felt by people in the local community. So we want to take the first step to ensure that the local communities can feel a more direct impact by directly giving them access to basic amenities that might be lacking, or even resources such as, for example, water or education, because in some less developed economies, these are resources and services that are kind of restricted and people have very hard time finding and getting access to. So we hope to take the first step in bridging this gap and allowing them to head for a better future. And as we mentioned,
yeah, I hate to interrupt you guys. This is amazing, but I'm just watching time. So do you mind actually taking a few questions from our live audience, and then we can transition to the next speaker? This is great.
Absolutely.
Okay, sure. So can we just summarize our points first?
Yeah.
Okay, Dennis.
Okay, strategies consumer level. Number one is setting up a food booth, night market style. Number two is introducing an Oriental summer fashion line exclusively for the Asian markets.
Yes, and at the community level, we'll be hiring Bollywood and Chinese, Hong Kong, or Taiwan pop stars such as Feng Bingbing or even Wang Lihong to be our brand ambassadors, because these are more familiar faces and consumers will feel a greater sense of relatability. And that is the first step of acting locally and acting in the locals' interests. Also, we wish to build water pumps and schools in less developed host economies. So by providing all these resources, we are likewise acting locally and acting in the locals' interests. So that's what we have for Going Global, and we would like to thank everyone for listening to us. But finally, we want to mention that while Going Global brings us around the world, Going Global wins us the hearts of people around the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's great. So we actually have a few questions. Let's just take a few questions. So from my dear friend Alice, thank you for joining us live. So ask you if this company you guys proposed is considered a B corporation.
Sorry, can I clarify what it means to be a B corporation? Do you mean like a company that balances their purposes and profit?
I don't know if she's asking a B2B or B2C or like a business corporation. I'm actually not very clear either.
Alice, could you let me know if what I said was what you meant, so that I don't misunderstand you?
Yeah, so here's a question from someone joining us live on LinkedIn. So how long did it take you guys to collaborate on this project? Interest in your workflow, and so briefly explain.
Okay. Dennis, how about I go first, then you share?
Okay, yeah.
So actually, we only started on the slides on Wednesday. So the fact that we could produce 20 slides is quite remarkable for us. Like, we called 1 hour every day, and like we discussed on how we want to arrange the slides and also get the script together. And yesterday we were also rehearsing for the presentation. But before that, actually Dennis has been quite proactive, and he created a document for us to compile our research into. So I'm also quite grateful for a teammate like Dennis, because he has been really proactive and very understanding as well.
Yeah, it's the exact same back for you, Joey. Like, working an hour every day was it definitely helped us to be able to collaborate and to put the presentation together. So I couldn't have asked for a better teammate than Joey. So
So here, I didn't know. I'm learning. So B Corporation is a mission-driven organization, different than focusing on just the profits. Oh, I love that. Thanks for sharing, Alice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it is probably, I think it is a B corporation. Like they do kind of just focus on the profits. In this, they will just focus on the profits. That's why we're trying to make a change into globalization.
Awesome. I'm gonna check them out. Yeah. Hey, Mila, thank you for joining us live. Yeah, she said they have a net market in Europe. Oh wow, didn't know that. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I also did not know this. Because we were thinking of entering the Asian market. So when I was thinking of the strategies that we were going to undertake, I was considering the places such as Taiwan and Hong Kong, because I know that in these areas there are many small shops that sell, like, for example, porridge and like the, I don't know what it's called, but it's called like 车仔面, like they have car noodles.
That's cool.
These are sold in night markets. So that was the form of inspiration I had for wanting to integrate food into like the Primark stores. But yes, so as you mentioned, there's night market in Europe, and moving forward, we can definitely integrate that into our European stores as well, so that it's kind of more relatable and like homely for the European consumers. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. And my friend Mitch here is here, an amazing lawyer. So thank you so much, Mitch, for joining us live. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Dennis and Joey. I'm going to bring you to the backstage, and I'm going to bring Melody and my friend June here, and I'm going to remove you. Hold on, give me a second. Where are you, Dennis? Here. Okay, so do you want to share your slide, or you want me to share? You are on mute?
Hi.
Yes,
that's not my partner.
Hey. Yeah, so
that's not my partner. You put the wrong person.
Oh,
that's not Melody.
Sorry. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Sorry, you are just Melody. You are on top of that. I accidentally. If you look at my backstage, each of you is like teeny tiny, and I don't have my glasses, so I apologize. But anyway, so welcome. I can't wait to learn more about what you guys are presenting. So yeah, share with us.
Okay. So hi everyone, we just wanted to take some time to thank you all for joining us today. I'm Melody, and here with me is June. And just like Dennis and Joey who went before us, June and I are part of the Classroom Without Walls program, and we've been working together for the past 2 weeks across different countries over our screens on a topic that we're both really passionate about. Is trust a value, or is trust a principle? June, would you like to give our viewers some context on how we've been working together? I mean, we've only known each other since like a week ago, and now we're here presenting together.
I know. Thanks, Melody. So our mission, thanks to I and Ryan, was that we were picked to work together, and our plan was we had to discuss and then create our live stream presentation during 3 one-hour meetings. So we did Zoom meetings across the globe. I'm based in San Diego, and Melody is in Singapore. But when we really thought about the actual amount of time we had in the breakout rooms, it was more like 20 minutes. And even as the Zoom timer was going down like to the last minute, we would hang out together as long as we could. So in this short amount of time that we were given, we were both present at the meetings, and we were really starting to build trust through our actions.
Yeah. Hey, June, I was wondering, do you actually remember the first time we met? Like, what was your first impression of me? Were you worried that, I might be difficult to work with? Because I remember on our very first meeting, I was actually late into it by 10 minutes because my laptop wouldn't start up. And I was really worried that you might have a negative impression of me.
So when you reminded me of this, Melody, I actually had forgotten. I did not remember that you had been late, so I wasn't really swayed by it. My first impression of Melody was actually very brief. It was sort of dinner time for me. It's morning for her. We were assigned to work together. We met really quickly in the breakout room, and it was only 2 weeks ago. And I was really happy to have a new person to work with. I didn't really know what to expect because it's really been a while since I was assigned to work with somebody. However, shortly after meeting Melody, I signed into Telegram, which is a communication platform that we were asked to use. And so the first time I signed on, I saw a message from Melody. I was so excited and happy because the messages were timely. And when I wrote back, Melody responded right away.
Yeah, so here's actually the real screenshot of our very first conversation that I had with June. And I just wanted to say that I was actually very reassured to be in a group with June as well, because despite our time zone differences, so actually evening in the States is morning here in Singapore. June always replied within the span of one day, and it showed me that she was reliable, she was responsible, and she was really ready to get things done. So just some context on our conversation here. Out of 4 topics that we were given, I actually narrowed it down to 2 that I was interested in, and I proposed them to June. And in the end, both of us recognized that trust was the topic that was relevant to both of us. And it was a value we both hold close to ourselves. And it was something that we wanted to really explore further. And while we knew that trust can be almost difficult to talk about because it's a very intangible concept, it's hard to quantify and measure, and almost very sensitive to touch on. But just like this quote from Warren Buffett, trust is like the air we breathe. When it's present, nobody really notices, but when it's absent, everybody notices.
Yes. So I was super excited that Melody picked those 2. It was pretty amazing because those were my top 2, the ones that she had pitched, and her first choice was trust, as was mine. So I just want to elaborate on how important trust is in building new relationships. So we felt that in our new relationship, it was a really good example of how to build trust in working together, especially in a short period of time. So this was our experience. We had 3, again, short meetings, and in each of them, we had maybe 10 minutes each where we could talk in that Zoom breakout room. And during that time, we were really building trust. So in reflection, we noticed that we were both at the meetings on time. We respected each other's ideas. We contributed to the discussions. We were respectful and kind to one another. It's really these small actions that starts to nurture the trust that we needed in order to allow us to work as a team. So I want to encourage all of you to be mindful about how you personally value trust. Trust manifests from the small things, and these small behaviors, such as showing up on time, being engaged, demonstrating collaboration and appreciation, it really stems from each of our personal core values. If you see the importance of trust and how you hold it as an inner core value, then it's really the character that shows up. It's your character.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, June. And it's true that we do have to be mindful about how we value trust and how we show it as a character. And so if you guys agree with June that trust is very important, then go ahead and hit the like button and give us hearts down.
I love that. I love that.
Yes, so like what June mentioned, right? In our very brief moments of meeting each other, we could already sense how much trust we might grow for each other because it reflects from our values and from our character. And this trust is very, very critical for our delegation of work that has to come in the next 2 weeks that we're working together, and even in how we communicate with each other. For me, when I trust June, I can speak more openly to her about my thoughts for the project, the concerns, the questions I had, and the areas that I lack in which she can compensate for. And that really helps us to enhance our teamwork. And so, do you see that if trust is already so important between June and I, who have just known each other for 2 weeks, can you imagine how trust can be so important in your existing long-term relationships? So, what we want to emphasize is that trust is a significant foundation of all relationships, not just between new ones, but also in existing personal and business relationships. And what we hope that you can keep in mind is that we need to establish trust in order to build genuine relationships in our life and to make them sustainable. And to build that trust, we must be mindful about nurturing trust as our value, like what June brought up, and also be intentional in our actions to sustain that trust in order to establish credibility for that trust.
So we thought it'd be helpful to show you a framework. And it was really fun for us to come up with this. So we came up with the 3 C's for building and sustaining long-term trust. So the first C is character. So by character, we're talking about your personal integrity and core values. It's who you choose to be, even if no one is looking. For Melody and me, even though we didn't know what collaborating together as a team would look like, and we weren't sure if we would get along at all before the first meeting, we were actually really, each of us, open to giving each other trust from the very beginning. We were willing to collaborate as a team, even without knowing a whole lot about each other. And this wouldn't have happened if Melody and I did not view trust as one of our individual core values. So then it makes sense that we would pick this as our topic.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we really wanted to encourage everyone watching this to be mindful about how you value trust. How much do you identify with trust as one of your core integrities? For example, you can ask yourself, is trust a value that you hold close to your heart? Have you been someone that is on guard? Have you been refusing to be open, to be vulnerable in your relationships and trusting others, perhaps due to past hurts or betrayals that you've had? Because if you want that genuine relationship, then you have to start by nurturing trust from within your heart. And the second C is consistency. So by consistency, we're really talking about building on the small actions that builds trust. We need to realize that we should never ever take trust for granted. And trust must be earned, even with those people that are closest to you. Because one hurtful sentence, one broken promise, or just one simple lie can be all it takes to destroy the years of trust that you've carefully accumulated.
So as Melody and I were getting to know each other, I was sharing an example in my personal life. So my husband, Harlan, and I have been married for 22 years. So for my husband, so trust for us is crucial for our relationship. We talk openly about our feelings and what we need from one another as life partners. Harlan and I agreed long ago to always be honest with one another, even when it's brutal, and it can get brutal. So the principle of honesty in our communication helps nurture and sustain our trust over the years. And because my husband and I have been consistent in abiding by these principles we established in our relationship, we've been able to continue to build and sustain on that trust for one another after so many years of marriage. So then Melody and I felt that nurturing trust over time requires establishing agreements or principles in order to have consistent trust. So hence the second C, consistency. So we need to be consistent in our actions and words for trust to be sustainable over time.
Yes, and June pointed out a very important point. Long-term trust is built on that consistency between your actions and your words. And this brings us to the final C of our 3Cs framework, credibility. So when you're able to live out trust as both a value and principle, you can really start to establish credibility with the people around you. And that's what ultimately leads to trust. So there you have it, the 3Cs equation to building trust. First is character, that stems from your inner core values. Then with that, consistency, which stems from your principles that you reveal through your actions. And both together, when those are aligned, it will lead you to establish credibility. And that ultimately leads you to building long-term sustainable trust. So now we want to go back to our original question. Is trust a value or is it a principle? Well, for June and I, we decided that the answer for us is both. And we can't really narrow it down to one, but trust is really an alignment between our values and principles both. So Thank you for being here with us. This is the end of our sharing with you about our reflections on what trust means to both of us. So right now, if you have any questions at all, do feel free to drop it down in the comments below and we can get to it shortly. Yep.
Great job, everyone. We got lots of great comments, and thank you so much, George. Awesome program, really cool way to network, collaborate, and build community, given that you two are in different countries. Actually, here's a question, and actually from me. So I'm curious, do you think geographic barrier makes this collaboration more challenging, more difficult, compared to face-to-face?
I didn't. I'm used to working from home, and I work with people around the country. I've worked with people internationally, so for me, this is actually very normal. So yeah, I'm curious for Melody, how is it?
I think for me, it's a little bit different because this is actually my first time working with someone across the screen that I've never really met before and from a different cultural background. So, but like as what June and I mentioned before, we think that trust doesn't have to be big. It can start really, really small. So even just simple actions like being punctual on time, being engaged in our discussions, I think those small actions it really helped us to build that trust, and we could see even from across the screen that trust was an important value to us, and that's why we decided on this topic. So even though it might be different, I wouldn't say that it's harder, because yeah, I think when your value is trust, then it really shows through your character, and that really transcends the geographical boundaries. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, like the image in your presentation. I love that. So true.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Here's
awesome.
the last question. Answer briefly if you don't mind. And so from our friend Ron, and other traits like trust that you think are both a value and a principle.
Honesty.
Yep, definitely. I agree with June as well.
I want to give a shout out that all the slides were all Melody. So thank you, Melody.
Yeah, that's awesome. Here's a good question. I said last question. Someone joined us on live on Periscope. Thank you. And I'm also curious about this. If the trust is broken, it's lost, how can they rebuild that trust? Great question.
While we were coming up with this presentation, me and June, we actually came across a very interesting analogy about trust, which I thought might be quite relevant to share. And that is that we once discussed that trust is kind of like a water balloon. Like you have to accumulate it like drop by drop with water, but once it's broken, it can just burst like that, like in 1 second. And I think while we were reflecting on trust, we both thought that once broken, it's definitely very difficult to restore trust. Not even maybe to its original, but just to even mend it a bit. But I think when you demonstrate your sincerity, when you're genuine in your willingness to ask for forgiveness, if you're the one who's broken that trust, then I do believe that over time, the other person will be able to see that sincerity from you, and it will help you to, maybe not restore it completely, but start to fix that relationship you have again. Yeah, what do you think, June? Because you've had so much more experience and exposure than me.
I definitely feel like trust, if it's broken, it might just require to start all new. It might be that you have some pieces that are going to be faster than others, but perhaps the trust is a new branch of trust, perhaps. So
Yeah, and I love what Angela mentioned here. It's like a broken mirror. Like, you will have scars. It's better to, build that. Don't try not to lose that. Yeah. Thank you so much, my friends. And really enjoyed it. Good job. And yeah. So, yeah, last but not least, I'm going to, I hope I don't make a mistake because you all look so small on the backstage. So Rachel and Payan. And I'm going to, where are you? Bye. See you in a second. Awesome. So do you want to share your screen or you want me to share for you?
You can share for us if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So let me share. Okay. I'm good.
Cool. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Payan and presenting with me today is Rachel. Like the other pairs, we are working across different geographies as well. Today, we will be presenting on the topic creativity versus invention versus innovation. If you have seen these three terms and thought that they are simply synonyms of each other, let us tell you otherwise. We are here today to bring you a fresh perspective and draw out the differences between the three. These intricate differences were things I did not fully comprehend previously. Reaching out to my friends to get their opinion, they saw these terms as extremely similar as these terms are used interchangeably in today's day and age. However, digging deeper with Rachel, I was able to sift out the differences between these three terms. So let us tell you something that will change your mind. During this short presentation, we will be using the example of art therapy as an anchor for explaining these terms. I have had the chance to explore art therapy through my time at Enactus UCL, a society in my university focused on establishing social enterprises. My team and I are currently tackling the issue of social isolation of homeless beneficiaries through art therapy. If you think about it, the whole process of using art therapy to tackle social isolation and afterwards turn it into a scalable business actually taps on all three terms. Let us bring you through this.
So, I have always been passionate about creativity, and Pei has always been passionate about innovation. So, when we decided to pick this topic, it was really interesting to combine our passions and see and ask ourselves, is one more important than the other? Is creativity more important than innovation, or is innovation more important than invention? It was something that we would be discussing in this topic. Now, we want to ask our audience if you guys think that there is a difference between these three topics. Add them into the comments below and we can get back to that at the end of the presentation. So moving on into creativity. Creativity is one of the most important essential skills for us humans. It allows us to create new things, objects, or elements using what already exists in our world as a starting point. Creativity starts as an idea, and from there, it branches on to new and exciting inventions. Creativity comes in many forms. For me, when I think of creativity, my first thought is to start with the liberal arts and the performing arts. As many of us, we see creativity as someone who's singing, writing a song, making a movie, anything that is performative and right in front of us. Oftentimes, we forget to think of creativity in other forms, like in math and in science. Everything in math and science started with a formula and with an equation. All planes, everything that has to do with any scientific notion all started with creativity and with an idea. We often don't think of therapy, too, as something that is creative. And different elements of therapy all started with an idea and all started with creativity, which Pei will be discussing.
I love this. Very interesting concept.
Yep. For my team at Enactus UCL, there were many different art forms that we considered for art therapy. We had to brainstorm for creative ideas that would best engage these beneficiaries while ensuring that they included the element of art therapy. Some ideas included mediums such as coloring, drawing, painting, and pottery. Next slide, please. Yeah.
Oh my God.
What my team and I eventually settled on was body mapping. Essentially, you trace the individual's bodies, and after, they can decide what to write or draw in these outlines. Brainstorming of different ideas required creativity, drawing connections between unexpected ideas, and finally, coming up with body mapping. This was a way that these beneficiaries could freely and creatively express themselves. It required much creativity on all our parts to come up with such an idea. And the next step will be turning that creative idea into concrete action. This then leads
So cool. I don't want to go to the next slide. This is so cool.
this leads us on to the next point of invention. I would actually define invention as the creation of a novel product. Digging deeper, this requires one to tap on their creativity to draw connections between the different ideas, and thereafter create a physical object using different materials. Put even more simply, an invention is a new object. An invention is a new object that's greater than the sum of its parts. Inventors usually set out with a goal to tackle a particular problem or increase the efficiency of processes. They invent devices used in the operating room, new solutions to our energy needs, build new software, and even change the way we capture precious memories. They are creative in their use of materials to invent state-of-the-art products and solutions. Being an inventor means holding tight to one's curiosity about life, and it means solving problems by reimagining and acting on ideas. Let's do something that taps on your creativity now.
We wanted to ask our audience, what can you make of this banana? It is a simple fruit, and if we simply stopped at just the banana, we would not have inventions like the banana juice, banana smoothies, and banana split sundaes. Or going further and taking the form of the banana in a new creative way and inventing a banana boat inspired by the form of a banana.
Oh, that's so interesting. And now I'm thinking about banana cake, and yeah.
Yeah, I thought about banana cake too.
I know, I'm making everyone hungry.
I remember when I used to take classes. The classes are just so boring. I will bring a banana with me to my class. I will be like doodling on the skin of the banana. Sometimes I create a really nice art. It is very easy actually to doodle on the banana like skin peel. Very interesting. So I used to do that a lot.
Yep. So how exactly did you come up with a new idea? The first step was using your creativity, which we talked about earlier. You came up with a blueprint in mind, and from that, the next step would be gathering the materials and putting them together. For my example of baking banana bread, it will also have required a variety of ingredients, such as flour, eggs, and bananas, of course. You will also require tin and other materials. You can then build something greater, creating a physical object that serves a greater process. A lot of times, the process of inventing requires you to piece different bits of materials together. In the context of art therapy at Enactus UCL, what I would refer to as an invention will be the art pieces created by the homeless beneficiaries. These are not just a collection of paints on canvas, which they tapped on their creativity to achieve, but instead, it also encompasses their personal stories and deeper meanings that the pictures bring. It tackles the problem of these beneficiaries being unable to express themselves freely and openly, purely through words. This medium hence gave them the opportunity to invent a creative piece of their own.
Our final topic that we will be discussing is innovation. Evolutionary changes to existing processes, uses, functions, or products which are made better by several contributing inventions. Innovation is something that is built on invention, and what me and Pei discussed is something that starts with creativity, then moves to invention, and then finally innovation is something that builds on invention. If you want to innovate, that is how you survive in the business world.
Definitely. Taking that physical invention, you can bring it on to a larger scale. Very few inventions are by themselves successful innovations. And yeah, the interesting thing about innovation is that unlike inventions, which are purely constrained to physical items, you can also innovate on processes, business models, or even experiences for customers. An innovative process that is fresh in everyone's mind due to COVID will be online shopping. Brick-and-mortar shops have shifted to online means and have even started curating personal content and suggestions for potential clients. The personal touch, as well as the seamless and integrated system, makes the entire process of online shopping an extremely enjoyable one. One of the giants within the space of online shopping is Amazon. To stay ahead of the competition, Amazon is constantly seeking to innovate and has recently done so through shortening delivery times to its customers with the use of its drone army. This is one of my favorite examples of innovating on the customer's experiences. Not only is there a quicker delivery time, typically within 30 minutes, it makes the entire process even more exciting for customers as well. Lastly, another example of innovation would be Grab, which has innovated on its business model. They have shifted away from purely ride-hailing services to delivery and even insurance services as well. Eventually, their end goal is becoming a super app where almost any function can be performed from the Grab app alone. For art therapy, innovation for my team meant innovating on our business model. In the beginning, we aimed to run a pilot program whereby we wanted to hold a small art exhibition on campus to promote these homeless beneficiaries' art pieces and their stories. Eventually, we wanted to expand this further to create a sustainable and revenue-generating model. To step up the scale, we will display and sell these art pieces in the cafe where the homeless shelter is. We also plan to utilize the spaces in the cafes to run creative programs, such as getting the homeless beneficiaries to explain the significance of their artwork, or even read out their poetry during these creative sessions. This will have an impact not only on the beneficiaries themselves, who are now able to express themselves through art, but likewise have an impact on the general population, who will be more aware and inspired by their personal stories.
Through this presentation, we found that the differences between creativity, innovation, and invention is that they're all essential. We found that they are each interdependent to the other. Creativity is the foundation, invention is the physical creation, and innovation is the adaptation to the invention. Thank you for listening to our presentation. Stay home while staying creative, inventive, and innovative. Thank you.
Ah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh wow, everyone is like clapping. I see on the backstage, everyone is clapping for you guys. So I'm going to bring everyone to the stage in a second. You guys got lots of good comments, and my dear friend Susan, love those brilliant leaders and innovators learning through collaboration, critical thinking about the world now, and their vision for it in the future. Yes, congratulations. I so agree. Thank you for joining us live, Susan. And I think there's a question earlier and asking you guys, do you think creativity, I'm trying to find the question, creativity is a skill that can be taught? And what do you think? I'm trying to find the question. Yeah.
I think that creativity is something that everyone has, but if it is not nurtured, then I think that is where creativity dies. So I'm a huge believer that creativity needs to be nurtured. In the study that we talked about, where children are so much more creative when they're younger, and as they get older, they're taught to question themselves and taught to think more critically, which can sometimes kill that creativity. So I think everyone is born creative, but some people nurture and train it more than others.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I definitely agree with what you said. I think you definitely need to have an environment where you can allow yourself to really explore the different possibilities. And I think having that implemented from a very young age is very, very crucial. So I think schools really have a very big job in allowing students to really explore the different pathways and not really constrain them to like a structured thinking. For example, during my IB years, I felt it was really great for me to really hone my creativity because through the entire process, we not only focused on purely written assessments, but there were also other creative ideas such as presenting and learning how to engage your audience. So I think having like different forms of assessment also could help contribute to honing one's creativity. Yeah.
I so agree. I think we need more programs like that. I love this comment from George. Like in my experience, unfortunately, I don't think my education really helped me become more creative. My education makes me don't really enjoy learning as much as I should. So I think we definitely need more innovations in this regard for sure. Yeah. And great, we have a lot more questions, but I'm just trying to respect everyone's time. So I'm going to bring everyone up to the main stage. So let's have a team discussion and debrief. And I think this is a very fun experience. Dennis, Melody. What do you all think? Everyone loves it. And yes. Oh, here's one for you guys. Nurture creativity. Yes. Here's a still question. Why don't we answer as a group? What do you guys think? Is there a chance for everyone to still cultivate their creativity regardless of their age? Any idea? Anyone wants to share?
I'd say it doesn't matter how old you are. Creativity is always going to be there for you, no matter what age you are. So it doesn't matter what age. Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's something that you can always tap into, and there's exercises that you can do, and there's so many different forms of creativity, and so it's just finding your niche and tapping into that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we are actually going to discuss creativity on Monday. We have quite a few exercises. I can't wait to get started. Yeah. Do you want to say a few words, Ryan? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think if I were to ask the audience, wherever you're listening in from, I wanted to just ask this one question, and that is, if you think our collaborators have done a good job, please just let them know. Full kudos to them. We set them up with only 3 hours, and apparently you heard from Melby and June that it wasn't really 3 hours. So
I wish I had something.
So right away, I think somebody asked as well, what are some processes that we've innovated on? And I like to just say the global classroom itself, right? The idea of bringing in people from all around the globe to be able to sit across with each other, to be able to talk about various issues in really an hour, and then go, hey, give them a challenging topic. What do you think that they can come up with? So, I mean, that can also answer creativity in and of itself, right? We ask ourselves and we go, hey, what do we put people together? What do we put diverse people together? What do we force them to be inclusive? Do you think that that's going to actually drive the creativity or hamper it? And I think on evidence of just today alone, I like to argue for the former. What did I say first? I did say that creativity is actually driven further, right? So great. So by
the way, I love what Susan mentioned here. Global co-constructors. Yeah. I love it. That is so true. Co-designers. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So being very conscious of everybody's time, we'd like to thank you all for staying so long with us. Could you do me a humongous favor really quickly? I put up the slide that I have there. What I would like to do is a quick shout out for everybody who's listening from wherever you are. What I would like you all to do is this. Step 1, connect with us. If you're not connected with I and you're on her platforms, please connect with her. Okay? Same with everybody else here. Just connect with us. Carry on the conversation. Don't let this kind of classroom stop. If it's meant something to you, please carry on the conversation. And last and definitely not least, be awesome. That's super important. I think for us, right, as we come to get to know each other the last 2 weeks, the first thing that everybody's told me was that we're going to miss this a little bit. So,
Tears. Yes.
so carry on the conversation. Just keep on being awesome
I
from
can still see my
wherever you
students.
are. Right, that's really important. So that's my last message. And for me, it's just from our head out and hands to yours. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much, everyone. I am so proud of you. As you can see, my face, my muscle hurts from laughing so much and smiling so much. So thank you so much, everyone. And and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live from all over the globe. Really appreciate your time and your contribution to make this really interactive and give our students a taste of live streaming and the content co-creation. So thank you so much. A big hug to everyone. Yeah, thank you so much, and have a great weekend. And you guys, if you don't mind, stay for a second. That would be great. Bye, everyone, to our